happy Yugadi if you are here in India, and advance wishes for Yugadi if you're in the US. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Navadhi Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, welcome back to yet another session of the Bhagavad Gita. First of all, I'd like to thank Suresh ji for continuously recording the verses and putting it up, and he has done some fantastic video with some beautiful visuals in the translation. I will share his link with you again on the group, and he is. I think some 2 or 3 very important shlokas of third chapter. He has made a kind of a montage, very nice. And also every day he is reciting whatever shlokas we cover in the class. So definitely have a look at his page. Fantastic work. Ashok ji had sent a mail to me a couple of days ago. I forgot to bring it up yesterday. But then I thought in the context of today's discussion, it will be more relevant. And that is about the efficacy of mantra and things like that. I'll just made a mention so that I remember. Only one question before I go to the actual shlokas today. My good friend Aparna Datar has asked a question about the meaning of Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Now, I had briefly mentioned in the beginning about the colophon that is added at the end of every chapter during recitation of Bhagavad Gita. So when we recite Bhagavad Gita, we start with Atha Prathamodhyaya and then go on, and finally Om Tat Sat Iti. We have this entire segment, right? So in the course of that, I think I had covered this for the first adhyaya, but it's the same thing. So the first one will say Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nama Prathamodhyaya, and so on. Each of the chapters are being given a name. Now, this name and this colophon have been added later by people for convenience. The Bhagavad Gita itself, if you look at the text in the Mahabharata, they don't have names such as Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, or Karma Sannyasa Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and so on. It is added later by people who want to recite. Now, a person like Divi Gundappa has given even more relevant names in his Jivana Dharma Yoga book. So, people can use their own, understanding of Gita to come up with a title. There is no problem. So, he has given a very nice, very reliable set of titles for the 18 chapters. Like I told you earlier, the Bhagavad Gita is not a textbook. It is not a manual that is designed in such a way that the core concepts will come in the beginning and then over a period of time, the complexity will increase. It is not like that. It is at the core a conversation between two friends, one of whom is dejected, the other one is, like a mentor trying to shake him out of his temporary madness, right? So therefore, it's a discussion, just like in the manner of any other discussion, it will meander, go around. So when we were translating the book, we had come up with certain titles for the chapter in English because it's an English translation. So Arjuna's despair is the first chapter, wisdom and action, the second chapter. The third chapter, selfless action, because a lot of it is about detached action. The fourth one is wisdom in action. And the fifth one is called renunciation. And the sixth is meditation, and so on. So like this, each of the chapters have been given a name in translation. What we had done is primarily translated the well-known title. But if you see DVG's book, you can get another set of titles. He has given very nice names. More important, I think, is for you to read the chapter yourself at some point of time and give your own title to see what you feel is the most appropriate. In some cases, it might match with existing title, or it may be something new. So the karma Jnana Sannyasa Yoga basically is a reference to. So, whenever we use the word yoga in this sense, in this title of the chapters, yoga has many meanings. Here, it's more relevant when we look at it as a path, the path of karma, jnana, karma, sannyasa. So, where there is a combination of jnana, karma, and sannyasa. So, how to give importance to each of these things in the like what is the hierarchy and a constant quest between the three ideas of karma is action, jnana is wisdom, sannyasa is complete renunciation, complete detachment from worldly um, uh, activities. So when seen in this format, when seen in this backdrop, we realize that the working with jnana is more important than sannyasa for most people. Very, very few people sannyasa will work. So like this, yes, these titles have come. But I think it is of secondary importance to us. Primary importance is to see the verses themselves and try to identify the core important verses. And also, because it is a conversation between two people and it's going in a meandering fashion, multiple ideas are covered in the same chapter. So you can't say this one chapter is completely about only one idea, especially in chapter like second chapter, 18th chapter. So many things are covered that it's very hard to say, is this only bhakti, is this only jnana? Then some people say the first six chapters are I think jnana, and the second hexade is bhakti, the third hexade is karma. Like this, there are some distinctions which are done, but I think it is kind of force fitting because the nature of the text itself is such that so many topics are intertwined. So I hope I've given sufficiently convincing reply to Parnatai. Let us share my screen. One second. I can go back to where we were. Yeah. So we had looked at this verse, right? The third one. Now let us go to the fourth shloka. One second. Just, yeah. So Jneyasa Nitya Sannyasi Yona Dveshti na Kankshati Nirdvandvo hi Mahabaho Sukham Bandhat Pramuchyate. We had seen this. Then the next verse, Krishna says, Sankhya Yogo Pratag Balaha Pravadantina Panditaha Ekamapa Asthita Samyak Samyagubhayor Vindate Phalam Ekam Api Asthitaha Ekamapyasthitaha Samyagubhayor Vindate Phalam. So only the kids, only the novice, the beginners, not the wise, speak of Sankhya and Yoga as different. Only a child will say Sankhya and Yoga are different, not the wise person. Because one who earnestly pursues either will reap the benefits of both. So, Balaha, like young kids, uninitiated novices, Balaha, Sankhya Yoga, Prithak, Sankhya Yoga. So, Sankhya and Yoga, Prithak, are separate, Pravadanti. It is only the kids, only the uninitiated and the novices who will say Sankhya and Yoga are totally different things. Na Panditaha, the wise will not do that because Ekam api Samyak Asthitaha, ekam api, in one alone, samyak, all round, properly, nicely, asthitaha, established, ubhayoho phalam vindate. One will reap the benefits of both. And in a sense, when he says Sankhya and Yoga, what is he referring to? We have seen earlier. Sankhya can be seen as a path of knowledge, reasoning, the theoretical background, And yoga is a path of action, selfless action, working with a focus on work on action oriented life with not bothering too much about the result. So we have seen karma yoga and sankhya, which is the jnana marga, right? So we can even rephrase this as only the novice, not the wise, speak of karma and jnana as different. So one who earnestly pursues either will reap the benefits of both. In a sense, ultimately, the benefit is the same because the goal is the same. So you will land up at the same place. Excuse me. So this superficial distinction between karma and jnana, between sankhya and yoga, is foolish because a person, especially the wise person who has seen the both the paths, knows that ultimately it leads to the same goal. Ultimately, you get the benefit of doing both of them. Realizes that one should not worry too much. Whichever path is convenient for you, you take that path because ultimately it will reach to the same goal. साङ्ख्ययोगौ पृथग् बालाः
साङ्ख्ययोगौ पृथक् बालाः
प्रवदन्ति न पण्डिताः
प्रवदन्ति न पण्डिताः
एकमप्यास्थितः सम्यक्
एकमप्यास्थितः सम्यक्
उभयोर्विन्दते फलम्.
उभयोर्विन्दते फलम्.
Thank you. Then he goes on to say, Yat Sankhyaihi prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate ekam Sankhyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati sa pashyati. So, a Sankhya yogi and a Karma yogi, they reach the same state. He truly sees, who sees Sankhya and Yoga as the same. So, yat sthanam, the position, the place, the state, Sankhyahi prapyate, that one attains through Sankhya, tat yogaihi api gamyate. That is reached even through the path of yoga, even through the path of karma yoga. So yat sthanam sankhyaihi prapyate, tat yogaihi api gamyate. Even through yoga, we can reach the same path. Yaha, the person who Sankhyam cha yogam cha, Sankhya and yoga, ekam pashyati, the one who sees Sankhya and yoga, theory and practice, jnana and karma as one. So ekam pashyati, while he sees this as one, saha pashyati, he truly sees. Yaha Sankhyam cha yogam cha ekam pashyati, saha pashyati. Everybody else are blind, they are foolish. Only a person who sees these diverse paths leading to the same goal, he truly is a person of vision. Yat Sankhyaih prapyate sthanam.
साङ्ख्यैः प्राप्यते स्थानं
Tad yogairapi gamyate.
तद् योगैरपि गम्यते.
Ekam Sankhyam cha yogam cha.
एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च
Yaha pashyati sa pashyati.
यः पश्यति स पश्यति.
He says, Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptum yoga dukkhamaptum ayogataha yoga yukto munir brahma na chirenadhi gacchati. Now, it is very difficult to accomplish the state of sannyasa by simply avoiding action, avoiding yoga. But the sage who diligently practices karma yoga, steadfast on the karma marga, readily attains the highest state, which is that of the Brahman. So, Mahabaho, in many occasions, I feel in Bhagavad Gita, the epithet Mahabaho is used by Krishna almost in a teasing manner to Arjuna. He says, Mahabaho, mighty armed person, a man of great prowess, physical strength and ability. And then, after using the epithet Mahabaho, invariably he has some instruction which is to do with inner fortitude, inner strength. So, it's a subtle suggestion that, just physical strength alone is not enough. One has to have mental fortitude. You would have observed in multiple cases that whenever many times, may not be all the time, but asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha krihyate, he says in the 6th chapter. So Mahabaho is a kind of, there is no point in just having all brawn. One must also have internal strength. It is not about only physical strength. It's kind of maybe a suggestion. So Mahabaho Sanyasah tu ayogatah aptum dukkham. Here, dukkham is to be understood as it is very difficult, very painful, very troublesome to attain sannyasa through the avoidance of yoga. Ayogataha aptum dukkham. Sannyasah tu ayogataha aptum dukkham. Yoga yuktaha munihi. The sage who is aligned to yoga, who's treading the path of karma yoga, na chirena, not without delay, Brahma adhigacchati, attains Brahman, attains the state of Brahman, becomes one with Brahman. So Muni here generally means sage, but Muni is somebody who is so fulfilled there is no need. He doesn't even feel a need to say anything. He remains silent. We have the word mauna, which is silence, right? So silence is his natural state. He doesn't feel the need to say anything. Muni, he is so fulfilled. So yoga yuktaha munihi na chirena brahma adhigacchati. Very, very quickly he attains the highest state, provided he treads the path of karma yoga. Samnyasastu mahabaho.
Sanyasastu mahabaho.
Dukkhamaptum ayogataha.
Dukkhamaptum ayogataha.
Yoga yukto munir brahma.
Yoga yukto munir brahma.
Nachirena adhigacchati.
Nachirena adhigacchati.
Then he says, Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvannapina lipyate. One who controls his indriyas, his sense organs, and masters himself is steadfast in yoga. He relates to everyone as he relates to himself. He is pure within and is not tainted even as he engages in action. So yoga yuktaha, a one who's who is steadfast in yoga, who's treading the karma marga, yoga yuktaha vishuddhatma, vishuddha atma, one who is pure, who is absolutely free of all taint. Vijitatma, one who has mastered himself. Jitendriyaha, one who has won over his senses, who can control his senses. Sarva bhutatma bhutatma. He relates to everyone as he relates to himself. He connects with everybody just as he connects with himself. Somebody else's sorrow, he can also feel and empathize. Somebody else's joy, he can also participate. Kurvan apina lipyate. Even though he is engaging in action, he is not tainted. He is not stained by that. He is not disturbed by action. So this is an idea which again comes in the 6th chapter, looking at the entire world just like how you look at yourself. This is the highest level of realization, where a person does not distinguish between oneself and another. The empathy has become so widespread that the realized person sees no distinction. He is able to relate to the joys and sorrows of everybody as if it were his own. At the same time, he is not disturbed. He is not disturbed by even his own joys and sorrows. He is like a witness, but he is able to appreciate the joys and sorrows of other people. Now, it's not very easy. Now, if we really like somebody, they are very close friends, and they have done so much for us, and we feel a sort of binding with them, then we can celebrate with them in their happiness. Otherwise, if somebody else gets the award, somebody else gets a raise, somebody else get a promotion, often we tend to feel bad. I should have got, actually, I am more deserving than that person. I should have got the first prize, but I have got something. So it is very difficult when when you have a stake in the matter for you to happily participate in another person's success. Now, it is one thing if let us say some two teams which are unrelated to you are playing a game of cricket or football, you can participate in the victory of one of them. But if one of them is your team and they have lost, can you participate in the success of the other team? It is very difficult. It seems very strange, right? But the person who is detached from all this, he can easily participate in the success of the winning team. He can participate in the sorrow of the losing team. For him, it both victory and defeat are same, and he can easily connect with both these sets of people because he doesn't have anything of his own. He has completely removed his ego, so therefore he can see everybody as comfortably as he can see himself. Very nice verse. That and so many things have been packed into this one verse. So one is Vishuddhatma, somebody who is very pure and within, and Vijitatma, one who has conquered, one who has mastered himself. That means his body, his mind, everything listens to him. Now, for example, we would have trained ourselves such a way that if we are in the presence of somebody else, we go to somebody's house, we may have trained ourselves so we sit very, very, like in a very dignified manner. We may have control over our words. Some of us, some of the people would have practiced such a way that they don't blurt out something when in the presence of some important people or elders. They're careful. But how many people have complete control over the thoughts also? That now I don't want to have any thoughts. Okay, just like now maybe somebody has generally the tendency to use certain slangs or cuss words or something. But the moment they are with an elder, they have this ability to control their tongue and not use any bad language, speak in a very dignified manner. But how many people can have the similar kind of control for their thoughts? That no, stop, no more thinking. Can you just stop thinking? Then you are really you're a Siddha Purusha. If you can do that, if you can switch off your thoughts like you switch off like a thing, like a fan in the room, then you are really Siddha. Otherwise, it's not easy. The moment you say don't think about something, the mind will immediately, like a monkey, it will go jump there, right? So he has got complete control over himself. And Jitendriya, master of the sense organs, all the 5 karmendriyas and 5 jnanendriyas is controlled. It's under his, mushti. And then Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, he can relate to everybody just as he relates to himself. Perfect empathy. So such a person, even though he does he is not tainted, he is not stained. Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma.
Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma.
Vijitatma Jitendriyaha.
Vijitatma Jitendriyaha.
Sarvabhutatma Bhutatma.
Sarvabhutatma Bhutatma.
Kurvannapi na lipyate.
Kurvannapi na lipyate.
Then he says, Naiva kinchit karomi iti yukto manyeta tattvavit pashyan shrinvan sprishan jighran ashnan gachan swapan shwasan. Continues. Pralapan visrajan grinhan unmishan nimishan api indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. Once again, we'll see this. It's 2 verses together. Naiva kinchit karomi iti yukto manyate tattvavit pashyan shrinvan sprishan jighran ashnan gachan swapan shwasan pralapan visrajan grinhan unmishan nimishan api indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. Don't get scared by the length of it. It's a very straightforward verse. The realized person, the one who knows the truth, one who is wise, while seeing while hearing, while touching, while eating or smelling, while walking, while sleeping, while breathing or speaking, while letting go or while grasping, while closing the eyes or opening the eyes. At all times, a person who knows the truth, he thinks it is not I who is performing the action, it is merely an interplay of the senses with the sensates. The the panchendriya, the five jnanendriyas, sight, the eyes, the nose, the ears, the tongue, and the skin. These are interacting with the sensates, which is sight, smell, the sight, sound, smell, taste, and texture. It is the interplay of the senses and the sensates, the indriya and the indriyartha or the indriya vishaya. These things are interacting. It is not I who is performing the action. So there is a sense of detachment that he is cultivating. So yuktaha, the one who is got the understanding, who is connected with tattvavit, one who knows the reality. Tattva is reality. Tattvavit is one who knows the reality. Yuktaha tattvavit, a person who is endowed with knowledge of reality. Pashyan, while seeing. Shrinvan, while hearing. Sprishan, while touching. Jigran, while smelling. Ashnan, while eating. Gachan, while walking. Swapan, while sleeping. Shwasan, while breathing. Pralapan, while engaging in conversation, and Visrajan, letting go, Grinhan, grasping, Unmission, closing opening the eyes, Nimishan, closing the eyes. Api, so all these the various action, Indriyani, Indriyartheshu. So Indriyani, the sense organs, in the Indriyarthas, in the sensates, Vartante, they move about. The senses and the sensates interact. Vartante iti dharayan, having realized this, having understood this, na eva kinchit karomi, na eva, nothing. Aham na karomi, I am not doing anything. Okay, it's not me, it is not the I that is performing the action, it is the interplay of the senses and sensates. Iti manyeta. So thus he realizes, thus he thinks, that he deems that the senses and sensates are interacting with each other and producing the results, not I who is performing the action. Okay. Naiva kinchit karomi iti
Naiva kinchit karomiti
yukto manyeta tattvavit
yukto manyeta tattvavit
pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran
pashyan shrinvan sprishan jighran
ashnan gachan swapan shwasan
ashnan gachan swapan swashan
pralapan visrajan grinhan
pralapan visrajan grinhan
unmishan nimishan api. You're not able to see the screen?
Say it's visible.
Unmishan nimishan api.
Unmishan nimishan napi
Indriyanindriyartheshu
indriyanindriyartheshu
vartanta iti dharayan.
vartanta iti dharayan.
Very good. Then the famous verse, Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate nasa papena padma patra mivambhasa. Just as water doesn't stick to a lotus leaf, Papa doesn't stick to a person who works unattached and dedicates the work to the Supreme. So a person who is not attached to the results of the action and works with a dedication to the Supreme, no evil, no crime, no sin, no guilt sticks to this person. Because a person who works without selfish motives naturally tends towards genuine humility, and when somebody has genuine humility, there's lesser chance of committing papa. Yaha brahmani adhaya, one who dedicates his work to the Supreme, to the Brahman, Sangam tyaktva karmani karoti saha. Karmani karoti. So with get free of all attachments, one who does his work, saha ambhasa, this person, ambhas is water. So is just ambhasa padma patram iva. So padma patram is a lotus leaf. So just like water and a lotus leaf, that is, water doesn't stick to the lotus leaf. Just like that, ambhasa padma patram iva papena na lipyate. So just as water doesn't stick to this lotus leaf, Papa doesn't stick to this detached worker who dedicates his work to the Supreme. Now, the moment you are dedicating your work to the Supreme, what does this mean? Basically, you are seeing a higher purpose in your work. When you have a higher purpose, when you are undertaking your activity with a larger vision, there is a greater chance of we doing the work without selfish motives, without worrying about the outcomes or immediate outcomes of our actions. And also, we cultivate certain humility. When this happens, when we dedicate the work to the Supreme, and we are that itself requires certain amount of detachment, because if you are attached to everything that you're doing, that I am doing this because I want this result and I want to grow in my career, I want this, so everything is focused around you, then it's very difficult for you to dedicate something to Supreme. The fact that you are dedicating it to the Supreme, that you are looking at a bigger picture, you are trying to do something for a larger cause, itself means you have started on the journey of detachment. And when you are progressing on this journey, there's lesser and lesser chance of committing a crime, lesser and lesser chance of doing evil things, of papa sticking to you. So a very powerful metaphor, which is this water not sticking to the lotus leaf. Brahmanyadhaya karmani
ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि
sangam tyaktva karoti yaha
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः
lipyate nasa papena
लिप्यते न स पापेन
padma patram ivambhasa.
पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा.
Then he says, Kayena manasa buddhya kevalairindriyairapi yoginah karma kurvanti sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. So, giving up all attachments, a yogi engages in action with his body, his sense organs, his mind, and intellect merely for purifying himself. He can also engages in action with her body, senses, and mind and intellect merely for purifying herself. So it applies across the board. So yogina kayena manasa buddhya. So the the yogi through kaya, body, manasa, mind, buddhya, intellect, kevalaihi indriyaihi, solely with these, that is the sense organs as well, api sangam tyaktva, having given up attachments, atma shuddhaye, for the sake of self purification, karma kurvanti. So yoginah kayena manasa buddhya kevalaihi indriyaihi api sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye karma kurvanti. They work for the sake of self purification. The only goal now, no longer accomplishing some great attainments, making money, building a house, buying a car, all these things are gone, and anything that they do, the yogi, a wise person, is purely for the sake of self purification. So the yogi is not sitting quiet. He is engaging his body, his mind, his intellect, his sense organs, all these things into action purely for the sake of uplifting himself or herself. And he has given up all attachments. So, again, you see, the idea is that when there is absolute focus on work, when all the mental energies are put to work, naturally there is no space for you to think about the past or the future. There is no craving for rewards. There is no burden of the past. And the self-purification that results from this is the ideal of Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga means you are entirely absorbed in your work, the path of work, where all your energies are completely, centralized at one point. You've brought all your awareness to this one point of here and now. And that's the ideal of Karma Yoga. And that is self purification of the highest order. Because when you're completely in that moment, then you also have the opportunity to purge your ego and forget about everything else, become one with the action you're doing. Then completely you're detached from all the negative emotions with ego, with future possibilities, past baggages. Everything is gone for that moment. So that is the idea again of Karma Yoga, which comes here. Excuse me. Kayena manasa buddhya
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या
kevalairindrayairapi
केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि
yoginah karma kurvanti
योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति
sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye.
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये.
Then he says, Yukta karma phalam tyaktva shantim apnoti naishtikim ayukta kama karena phale sakto nibadhyate. Endowed with determination and resolve, a man or woman of poise doesn't crave for rewards, doesn't bother about rewards, and attains lasting peace. Driven by selfish desire, a person who lacks self control craves for rewards and lives in bondage. Again, very, very powerful words. Yuktaha karma phalam tyaktva. So, a person who is yukta, who is, endowed with the connectivity with the karma yoga, one who is a karma yogi, who is aware of the reality, who is connected with the truth. Yuktaha karma phalam tyaktva. So, person having discarded the, having renounced the worries about the karma phala, the result of the actions, naishtikim shantim apnoti. So he is, he is balanced, and he immediately attains peace. Shantim apnoti, he attains peace. So he's endowed with determination, and he doesn't care about rewards, and he attains lasting peace because he's not bothered by rewards. He's not bothered by if what happens if this results, that results. He's not worried about that. So he's at peace. Ayuktaha, one who is not connected with reality, one who is lacking self-control. Kama karena phale saktaha, driven by desires, he craves for rewards, and nibadhyate, he is bound. So almost like somebody who is running after something, he is bound by that. Like for example, if you can just visualize this thing of the carrot, when you're holding a carrot in front of a rabbit or something, it keeps running forward to catch that carrot, and in that attempt of trying to get the carrot, what is it doing? It is bound to that. So it is going to run in the same direction where the carrot is being shown. And it becomes predictable, and it becomes easy for the hunter to catch it. So that's exactly what the hunter of Maya is doing by showing this carrot. And if you are going to go running behind the rewards, then you are forever bound in that cycle. Whereas if you don't worry about the reward, there may be carrot, there may be stick, there may be whatever it is, doesn't matter to me. I'm going to go on my path. I'm going to focus on the work. Then you are a free person. It is very difficult to bind you. It is only when you are craving for something that it is easy to, trap somebody. Right. So whenever somebody has a craving, whether it's a craving for good food, or whether it's a craving for drugs, or whether it's a craving for name and fame, any sort of craving is a weakness. And the moment this weakness is there, that weakness can be exploited either by other people or by nature. That weakness can be exploited, and you will be living in bondage. That's the import of this verse. Yuktah karma phalam tyaktva
युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा
shantimapnoti naishtikim
शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठिकीम्
ayuktah kamakarena
अयुक्तः कामकारेण
phale sakto nibhadyate.
फले सक्तो निबध्यते.
So this again and again we see the same idea which is being told reinforced to the point sometime it may get little boring, but like I said, it's not a textbook and it's not very well planned that this first chapter should have these ideas and then we will go to second chapter. So therefore there will be repetition, but the more something is repeated, it is an indication that it's really important for us to realize and therefore work in that direction. सर्वकर्माणि मनसा संन्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी नवद्वारे पुरे देहि नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन्. So mentally renouncing all actions, the inner master lives happily in the city of 9 gates, neither acting nor causing action. So vashi dehi navadware. So one who is Vashi is like a one who has got it under control. Vashi Dehi. So the inner master, Navadware Pure Sarva. So the city of 9 gates. What is the city of 9 gates? We'll come to that. So Navadware Pure Sarva Karmani, all action, Manasa Sanyasya. So mentally having renounced all action, Na eva kurvan, na karayan. Na eva kurvan na karayan, neither acting nor causing action. Sukham aste, he is very happy, he attains happiness. Excuse me. So what is this Navadwara Pura? Nava is 9, Dwara is door, and Pura is city. So city of 9 doors, which is, where is the city of 9 doors? It is the body. Now, I told you earlier, I think, that Purusha, the word Purusha, although it is used commonly in Hindi and Kannada to indicate male, in Sanskrit, Purusha basically means person. Purishete iti Purushaha. That means the one who is occupying the city, Puri, is Purusha. Which city, which Nagara is it? The city of the body. Who is occupying the body? The spirit is occupying the body. So Purusha is the inner spirit, the person, the one who is occupying the body. So Navadwara, 9, which are the 9 gates? There's mouth, then 2 eyes, there are doors to the world, the 2 nostrils, 2 ears, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and your genital organ and your anus. So these are all the 9 orifices in the body which have interaction with the outside world, right? Something can go in and come out through one of these openings. So these are, this is metaphorically like a 9 gates, and the inner master who is living in the city of 9 gates, if he or she mentally renounces all the actions, then and having control. So when he says uses the word vashi, one who has got the body under control, who has got the mind, who got the intellect, who's got the ego, all this under control, he or she, the inner spirit, resides happily, neither causing action nor acting. Again, this does not mean that this person is sitting quietly, but mentally is renouncing action. So whatever physical action he or she is doing is merely for the sake of self-improvement and self-purification, and because it's supposed to be done. But mentally he has renounced acting, he has renounced causing action. So again, remember, we saw akarma in karma. So here he is engaging in akarma, but physically he is doing karma, but mentally it is akarma. So that's what it means. So there are some of these verses we have to be careful so that we don't think it is a conflicting message. Bhagavad Gita does not have that kind of conflict, except that they may be at 2 different levels of reality. but you won't find a conflicting message. It appears like a conflict that Arjuna himself says, you are confusing me with this conflicting message. But when you go deeper into the verses, it is not conflicting, it is just at different levels of reality. So therefore, it appears as if it's a conflict, but actually there is no conflict. Sarva karmani manasa
सर्वकर्माणि मनसा
sanyasyaste sukham vashi
सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी
navadvare pure dehi
नवद्वारे पुरे देहि
naiva kurvanna karayan.
नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन्.
Then he says, na kartrutvam na karmani lokasya srijati prabhu na karma phala samyogam swabhavastu pravartate. Very nice shloka, two shlokas, 14 and 15. He says, God does not command people to act. God does not create activities, nor does he create its associated rewards. All these things arise from nature. Prabhu lokasya kartrutvam na srijati. God does not create action or command people to act. Karmani naha karma phala sanyogam na. So neither karmani na karma phala sanyogam na. So neither does he create activities, nor does he create the associated rewards of those actions, associated results. Swabhavaha tu pravartate. All these arise from nature, swabhava, the innate nature of the people. It is all related to human world. This is not something that there is a God that commands people to act. So the conception of God itself is very different in Sanatana Dharma. I'll just come to that after the next shloka. So in no unclear terms, Krishna saying, Prabhu lokasya kartutvam na srijati. He is not commanding people to act. He does not create action. He does not create result. All these things come from swabhava, the people's nature, the people's tendencies and the mechanisms of the world. Cause and effect are all operating in the worldly space. So we reap what we sow. If we are doing something good, we get good result. Don't drag God into the picture. This is what he's saying. Na kartrutvam na karmani.
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि
Lokasya srijati prabhu.
लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः
Na karma phala samyogam.
न कर्मफलसंयोगं
Swabhavastu pravartate.
स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते.
Then he goes on to say, Nadatte kasyachit papam na chaiva sukritam vibhuhu ajnane navritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. So God is not responsible for good or evil in the world. The different beings, humans, are deluded because their knowledge is clouded by ignorance. Vibhuhu kasyachit papam na adatte sukritam cha eva na. So God is not responsible for papa in the world. If something bad is happening in the world, God is not responsible for that. Sukritam eva cha. Something good happening in the world, God is not responsible for that. It is foolish to think that God is responsible for good and bad. It is all a result of actions that people perform. So, jnanam ajnanena avratam. Their wisdom is clouded by ignorance. Tena jantavaha muhyanti. So, these beings are deluded. Why? Because their ignorance is engulfing their wisdom. Everybody has wisdom. But ignorance covers that wisdom. Like the dust covers the mirror. Like the embryo is in the womb. We have seen that, right? Like the fire is covered by smoke. Like this, knowledge is engulfed by ignorance. That's why people are not able to see. Now, these two verses, very important because it tells us about the conception of the Supreme Being in Sanatana Dharma. Unlike in different religions, especially the monotheistic religions of the West, here the conception of the supreme being is that of Brahman and various devas and devatas. So there is only one Brahman, the supreme being, which pervades everything, whereas the different devas and devatas are responsible for different, helping us with different things. But mostly as a matter of what, if we are interested in seeking certain thing, we pray to certain deva. But the general principle is that Brahman pervades everything. The supreme being is all pervasive. It is everywhere. So the possibility of a Hindu being an atheist doesn't arise at all. If you ask an atheist if there is God, is there God? He will say there is no God. If you ask a theist, is there God? He will say, yes, there is God. But if you ask a Hindu, is there God? He will say, there is only God. There is only Brahman. What is outside of Brahman? When we have defined Brahman as something that is all pervasive, that is there in every being, everything, the whole universe is Sarvam Khalividam Brahma, it says in the Upanishads. Ishavasyam idam Sarvam. So the entire universe is pervaded by the supreme being. So there is nothing outside of this. Everything is Brahman. So there is only Brahman. There is nothing outside of that. We can't conceive of a world where there is no supreme being, because the very definition of supreme being is all pervasive. Therefore, the notion that there is one God who is sitting somewhere watching what we are doing and punishing somebody and helping somebody and doing this conception is somewhat alien to us. Even these kind of conceptions are also there in Sanatana Dharma, because it is a conglomeration of so many ideas. In Puranas, definitely we see such figures, we see such interventions and all these things. But when we look at Bhagavad Gita, clearly he says that good and evil are merely results of the actions that human beings perform. And it is not going to be very useful when we drag God into this punya and papa. However, it is valuable when we are doing something, and if we are invoking the Supreme and that helps us get detachment, we are doing something for the sake of the Supreme, dedicating action to Supreme, that helps us in Chitta Shuddhi. So therefore, it is meaningful to drag God into the picture. Whereas punya and papa are results of our actions, and it is not very helpful to drag God into this picture. Nadatte kasyachit papam.
Nadatte kasyachit papam.
Na chaiva sukritam vibhuhu.
Na chaiva sukritam vibhuhu.
Ajnanena avritam jnanam.
Ajnanena avritam jnanam.
Tena muhyanti jantavaha.
Tena muhyanti jantavaha.
Okay, so let's do this and close for today. Jnanena tu tad ajnanam yesham nashitam atmanah tesham adityavajnanam prakashayati tat param. For those who have destroyed this ignorance using knowledge, that knowledge, like the shining sun, illuminates the supreme within. So, atmanah jnanena yesham ajnanam nashitam. So, the knowledge which is destroying the ignorance within, atmanah jnanena, the wisdom within, yesham ajnanam nashitam, which destroys ajnana or ignorance, tesham tu tat jnanam adityavat param prakashayati. For such people, tesham, indeed to tat jnanam, that wisdom, adityavat, like the sun, param prakashayati, illuminates the supreme within, provides this amazing illumination. Knowledge throws light on things, right? So that the metaphor of knowledge and light is very, very old concept. I mean, the comparison between knowledge and light is there for a very long time, because light is what makes us see something, right? If we don't have light, if we are engulfed in darkness, ignorance is a similar kind of feeling, not knowing. So you are very tentative. If you are to walk in a pitch dark place, you're walking, you're not sure what is in front of you. You can't take a step with confidence. You're always hesitant, always worried, always doubting. This is the state of ignorance. Whereas a state of knowledge is like a well-lit road where you can, walk with great confidence, and you know where you're going. You are able to see what's in front of you. So that sort of light is thrown on the inner being when we have this knowledge. When we don't have this knowledge, it is very limiting, and we don't know where we are going. Pretty straightforward verse. So, jnanena tu tad ajnanam
ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानं
yesham nashitam atmanaha
येषां नाशितमात्मनः
tesham adityava jnanam
तेषाम् आदित्यवत् ज्ञानं
prakashayati tatparam.
प्रकाशयति तत्परम्.
So here adityavat plus jnanam will become adityava jnanam. So that's just a sandhi there. Okay, so let's do one more. We have a few minutes more. We'll finish this. It'll be a logical break point. Tad buddhayas tad atmanas tan nishtas tat parayanaha gacchantyapunaravrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. So with thoughts absorbed in the Supreme, with the self immersed in the Supreme, with faith in the Supreme, and finding fulfillment in the Supreme, a self-realized person attains liberation. So here he uses the word tat, that, but that is a reference to the Supreme. So with thoughts absorbed in that, he says tat, but basically is referring, tat is a reference to the Supreme Brahman. So tad buddhayaha, tad atmanaha, tannishtaha. So tad buddhayaha, with thoughts absorbed in that, tad atmanaha, so with the self immersed in that, tannishtaha, with with faith and firmness in that, tat parayanaha, with finding fulfillment in that, jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha, person who is self-realized, a person who is free from all the bindings. Apunaravrittim gacchanti, he reaches a place of no return. There is no return from that. In the sense, once you reach the highest level, there is no question of turning back. So a self-realized person reaches this highest state from which there is no need to come back. So apunaravrittim gacchanti. So it is not like a eternal damnation. It is the complete opposite of that. It is eternal liberation, where one need not, once you reach that highest level, you don't come back again. So not returning again, which is basically free from rebirth. And they are completely cleared all their misgivings with the help of knowledge. Jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. So kind of washed off or dispelled all their evils, all their negative things, and with the power of knowledge, and using that, they have completely cleansed their being, and they attain a state from which there is no coming back. You have attained the highest. It is liberation. You are broken free from the cycle of births. So what are the conditions? Again, tad buddhayaha, with thoughts immersed in that, tad atmanaha, with the self immersed in that, tan nishthaha, with complete faith and established in that, tat parayanaha, finding fulfillment in that. This person realized the highest state. Okay, so let's recite this once and wind up for today. Tad buddhayas tad atmanaha, tad buddhayas tad atmanaha,
tad buddhayastadaatmanaha,
tannishtas tat parayanaha,
tannishthastatparayanaha,
gacchantyapunaravrittim,
gacchantyapunaravrittim,
jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha.
jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha.
Wonderful. Thank you, Hamsa, once again for reciting. Vijay Venkatraj has a question. Is there a difference between a wise person and a realized person according to Gita? Well, a wise person is we can I don't think it's mostly in terms of how you define it and wordplay. But a realized person, that means he has already realized, he has attained the highest. So maybe a realized person can be defined as somebody like this, apunaravritim, a person who reaches this state of no return, of this ultimate state. He's realized. A wise person is who is on the path, who is an advanced, who is advanced on that path, who is let go of certain attachments and so forth. A wise person is on the path to becoming a realized person. One more step from wisdom to realization. Maybe we can think of it like that. So thank you once again. We will meet tomorrow at the same time. Om Tat Sat. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Hariji.
Thank you.
Namaste, sir.